Hello, YouTube land. This is J-Bo here again. And I have three revolvers that I like to shoot very often. In fact, I shoot these every weekend, sometimes during the week if time affords it. And this time of year, it's getting dark earlier, so I don't have as much time during the week before it gets dark. And now we're going to be setting the clocks back coming up in another week and a half, 2 weeks. So anyway, long story short, these are three Heritage Rough Riders, which I really like these a lot. And I'm going to make a video on the Ruger Wrangler as well in another video. These are technically made better than the Heritage Rough Rider, quality-wise, engineered better. But I will get into why I like the Heritage Rough Riders more as far as fun factor, even though the Ruger is much more accurate in my opinion and made and engineered better. But I will get into that in another video. In the meantime, this video is about these. Now, this was the very first one I got, which was the Liberty series, wood handle, grips, I mean. And as you can see, this is very worn. I have shot this so much, it's getting all patinaed and worn in. And the bluing is wearing off here and there. And this gun has been really fun. What is it about this gun compared to the other two? It just feels more comfortable to me. So, I've already checked to make sure these are unloaded before starting the camera, but we might as well do this anyway. And this one right here, I probably have 4,000 rounds through it. I'm not even joking. And what I like about it is these are easy to fix when they break, and they will break. They use the old-fashioned flat trigger spring, sear spring, and it just wears and tears for the bolt stop. Locks into these to rotate your cylinder. So I have replaced everything on this gun that's a moving part at least once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times. So when I go shooting, I bring extra ones with me because I know once in a while I'm going to have a malfunction. Which isn't really the gun's fault or Heritage's fault. It's, you know, to keep the price low. You get what you pay for, but it works like it's supposed to when it's working. And I highly recommend getting gunsmith screwdrivers so you don't strip all your screws. Some of these are a little worn because I didn't do that, and that's why I got them. But they come apart very easy, and they have that safety, which is, just flip that down. It's second nature to me now. And you can even see some dents on here that I put on there from actually knocking that pin out because I had to replace the firing pin. So it's I'm pretty good with this stuff, and it's not a big deal. But the other thing I have noticed, and from using these, is the materials that they use on these for the Heritage Rough Riders is they don't last as long as they should. The barrel seems to be okay. The rifling in the barrel is okay. But with this, for example, I am starting to get 22 casings bulging after firing. And not very badly, but it's telling me that these chambers are starting to wear on the edge. And it's not from dry firing, because you can't dry fire these without damaging them. It will damage them. But it's just from use. I've had about 4,000 rounds through this, and it's getting worn out. But they sell extra cylinders for not much money on their website. And I do have an extra one here. And they're just really nice guns for the money. And when I first got this one was about $169, and now you can get them. I think I paid $110 for this one online, and it did not come with that grip. This one did. And this used to be a color case hardening look, and all of that wore off because it's just a finish that they put on there. So, but highly recommend these. They're just fun, okay? And you know, like I said, the Heritage Rough Rider website has all these parts cheap. You know, you can get the hand and in here, and pretty much all of these parts, the trigger spring that's under here, the sear, you know, the bolt stop, all of that stuff is $5, $4.95. So it's really easy to get parts for. They send them out very quickly, and I buy ahead of time and have parts on hand because, you know, sometimes you just need them around. And when you do get these, they're not really sighted very well when you get them. They sight them briefly. They test fire them like a shot or two, I think, from the video on YouTube of the factory tour. And so what you do is you just manually bend the front sight. And you know, it's one of those things with the rear sight, if you want to move your grouping that way, you would move the rear sight that way. But on the front sight, it's the opposite. If you want your grouping to move that way, you move the front sight this way. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's what you do. So now this one had the Cocobolo grips, and I bought these grips. I think I paid like $50 for these or something. These are made by somebody. I don't know who it was. They were offered through a website, and I really like them a lot. Now this gun has a story to it. Now I bought this gun as a refurb, or kind of scratch and dent, I guess you'd call it. And I got a good discount on this. But that comes with problems because for some reason there was no rifling in the barrel, none at all. So when you would shoot, it was like shooting a .22 down a smoothbore. And obviously this was a factory second that shouldn't have gone out the door, and it did. So what I did was I went and bought a barrel on eBay, I think it was. I got one for $19, I think, so it was a good buy. And I'm still ahead on this because of that. But I found out what Heritage Rough Rider does if you're going to replace a barrel. It's not a good idea because each barrel for each gun that they do are individually done and threaded. So your front sight notch and front sight get put on after the barrel is screwed in. And the problem with that is all the barrels end up in different places. So if you get a replacement barrel, the front sight is going to end up on the side or cockeyed to that side, or you might get lucky and it'll be close to where it's supposed to be, but you'll still have to bend it and adjust it, which I don't mind doing because these are less expensive. I just grab it with pliers with a piece of leather wrapped over it so it doesn't damage it too much. I just bend them. But how do you fix that? Well, I can tell you the solution I came up with. It's not textbook. I don't know if I recommend it or not. But what I did, is I cheated. So I had to get the front sight to be where I needed it. That was obvious. So I put a spacer in there and unscrewed the barrel from the receiver until the front sight was where I wanted it, and I got a thin spacer made out of metal that's like a washer, a flat washer, and you can see it in there if you look right in there. So that's a flat washer in there just to give me that gap. Now what that did was, look at the size of that cylinder to barrel gap. Isn't that funny? That took about 150 feet per second off the shot. And I was going to remedy that. And then you know what? I was shooting this, and it's a louder gun because much more escapes here, gases, when you shoot. So we put this on a chronograph, and I was getting about a little less, right around 750 to 800 feet per second, shooting rounds that I should be getting 1,200 feet per second. So it was quite a loss, but what was fun about it is I used this pistol for shooting tin cans out on the sand. And let me tell you, I got just the right speed coming out of this where those cans really dance on the ground. Because if you're familiar with shooting cans, if you use the higher velocity stuff, the bullet will go right through the can, aluminum can or a soup can, and the can won't move. So it's like, well, that's no fun. But with this, because of the reduced velocity, it flips the cans around on the sand. They jump 15, 20 feet up in the air. You never know which way they're going to go, and it's just a blast. So I left this like this, and you know, what the hell? I actually had a happy accident, which makes this gun a lot of fun. So that's the story with this one. Every gun has a story. Well, that's the one. And I have a lot of fun with this one too. So, this guy, what's the deal with this? You're probably looking at this going, what the hell is that? I've never seen that Rough Rider look like that. That's true. It has an all nickel look because what I did was, this originally had a blued barrel. It had a blued cylinder. And the receiver was color case hardened. So what I did was, this is an extra long 6-inch, I believe, or 6.5, 6.5. I think it's 6. And it is also a 9-shot. So that's a 9-shot cylinder. So you're probably wondering, how the hell did you take all the bluing off there? Well, if you're kind of experienced with guns, you already know the answer to that. And yeah, I actually, what I did was, you take these and you clean the oil residue off it with either brake cleaner type stuff that you would clean your guns with. And just make sure all the oil is cleaned off. And then what I did was, I got a 2-quart container and just filled it with vinegar. Just white distilled vinegar. And just let it sit. You'll start seeing it change pretty quickly, but you let it sit overnight, and then you take it out and you polish up the metal, which I use a jeweler's polishing cloth, which is very cool. I'll scoot over this way for a minute and get it. It's a 2-ply cloth, which has 2 purposes, this is pretty dirty. But this side is the main one that cleans the surface and takes imperfections out. And then this side removes tarnish and puts a polishing on it that's like they use on jewelry. It's a jeweler's polishing cloth. And it was only about I don't remember if it was $6 or $8 on eBay. And so basically just do that. You just rub the heck out of it. And the other thing this does is if you use a Uberti revolver that has a brass trigger guard, or I have a black powder gun where it has a brass receiver, you can polish that right up with this, and it looks just like you used flits or something like that to tarnish remove without all the mess. You just rub it the hell out of it with this while you're watching a movie or something. It takes a little bit of effort, and you get a nice finish on it. Very happy with it. So that was my experimental idea with this one, and I like how it came out. And this gun is not as accurate as the other ones. Basically, I don't know if there's something wrong with the rifling that Heritage did. It's not, the chamfer on the end isn't messed up. So I don't know why the groupings are so erratic. And it's general ballpark, so plinking AR-500 targets at 40 or 50 yards, which is what I usually do. I hit the target every time, but I wouldn't be able to shoot like a bullseye with it. So it is a little off. I don't know what it is. And I never got it hot enough for the barrel to lose its temper. So maybe it's a poorly tempered steel that they made this from. So when you shoot it, there's like a vibration in it. It's not stiff enough. You know what I mean? Like the barrel's not stiff, and it flexes when you shoot, which is similar to the problem that the Mini 14s, the old ones from the 70s, had, harmonic imbalance, I guess they call it. So I think that's what's going on with this. But anyway, the grip on here, grips, my brother had a Heritage Rough Rider that he would just throw in his bag with other guns, and it got all chipped up and used. And the ones I had on here were beautiful, new-looking Cocobolo whatevers, and we did a swap. So he gave me his old beat-up ones to match my kind of worn, non-blued look, and that's what we got. So that ain't bad. And all three of these are R22s. My brother has one. It's a Magnum one, but you can change the cylinders and shoot either or. Like this one, I have a Magnum cylinder I shoot in sometimes. I won't shoot it in this because of that cylinder gap. It would be too loud and probably just wouldn't get the benefits of the Magnum. But I would shoot them out of this, but I don't have a 9-shot. I don't have a 9-shot 22 WMR cylinder, which I think they do have them, but I don't have one. I don't know if I would get one for that. But this is my favorite. This is Old Faithful. This is the one I shoot that always does what I want it to. And these are really, really nice, inexpensive, and really recommended. So anyway, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed my little chat about these wonderful handguns. And as always, when I go shooting, I've got this washcloth that used to be white. And every time I come back from shooting, I don't clean my guns every time I go shooting, but I don't let them get dirty either. I usually clean them after about 200 rounds. But what I do is I take Rem oil and I just squirt it on this cloth, let it soak in. And I always have an oiled cloth, which, because I took all the bluing off, is essential, or else you will get rust. But I don't get any rust with this. I clean them frequently enough, and I keep them, just rub them down, and they're good. So that's it. It keeps it looking nice. So anyways, that's my little story and my adventure on these wonderful 22s. I love 22 revolvers. So Enjoy. Highly recommended. Check it out.